Welcome back to the Local Business Report. Good morning. With me this morning is CEO Bryan Mower. He's the CEO of Western Reporting. Good morning, Bryan.
Good morning. How are you, Marty?
Great. Hey, great to have you back on our program. This morning, what we'd like to do is talk a little bit more about what your company does. I know you guys are the nation's leading expert on background check, screening, employment, criminal, and credit reports. But today we'd like to focus on background screening as a whole, what it kind of means, and how you guys fit in that picture. Talk to me a little bit about background screening as an overall tool that companies and individuals can use.
Sure, I'd be glad to. I think where we go on talking about this, we have to have kind of a starting point, and that really started on September 11th in 2001. And at that particular time, the world changed, and background screening became a tremendous tool or importance for not only merchants but individuals and landlords. And so as of September 11th, with the security and everything that has been taking place as far as terrorist activity and security, then kind of was the introduction of background screening as opposed to just a consumer reporting agency. So background screening entails a lot of different avenues and variables. So it's a broad scope of all kinds of information that people can request just to verify individuals are who they are and applications are what they say they are for either jobs or rental activity. So it include items such as Social Security verifications to verify that a person's Social Security is who they are, to criminal background checks, and that can be even expanded even further to justice courts, circuit courts, federal courts. So information is out there, and it's just kind of taking that information and putting it in a report that's readable for various individuals depending on what kind of background or how extensive it wants to be.
Oh, that's awesome. You know, we often hear when we think about, when we hear background screening, we think about government agencies administering this. But as a private entity, your company administers these background checks for all kinds of individuals and companies out in the corporate world as well, don't you?
Yeah, and I think, again, we go back to September 11th, and that's when businesses started becoming more of a tool in using this for just various individuals or companies. Yeah, the government still is involved in this, doing their own fingerprint checks and things like that. But as far as the world out there, private enterprise got involved, and not only does them for the airports and security systems, really all over the world, it becomes a great tool for anybody to receive information and receive it on a timely basis. We all know that the government can be slow in certain processes, and this is one where private enterprise completely outdoes the government, and in fact the government uses companies like ourselves to supplement their own information.
Well, that makes total sense. So when you do a background check, let's say a corporation hires your company, which a lot of them do, to do a background check. And I know sometimes they're looking for new employees. What are they typically looking for in a background check?
I think they're typically looking to verify what a person puts on the application for a job. It all depends on what kind of job you're trying to get a background check for and trying to get that information verified. So typically, an entrepreneur or somebody that's even a human resource management person looking for somebody to work in their company would look at the job, whether it be accounting or a medical service technician or even somebody doing landscape, and then the information they require for that particular job, then we would provide that information. It could be as little as just doing a national criminal background check for felony to as extensive as looking at education references and verifications, past employment, and various court information nationally, and drug testing. So it can run the gamut, really.
So now, what type of companies are you seeing out there that are requesting your services? Are they big national companies? Are they local companies, somewhere in between, or what's typical?
Well, typical would be pretty much all national companies do some form of background checks. It's just a good, safe practice to have within your corporation to make sure you're hiring who you're hiring, and they don't have any kind of record, criminal or any kind of federal or even international record that may encumber their company one way or another. So it's just really a good practice in very large companies. Medium-sized companies do them too, and even small ones do them just to protect themselves. Most liability insurance companies require that corporations or companies run their own background checks, and that limits their liability and also probably reduces insurance premiums all across the board, quite frankly.
Oh, I see. There's many applications for that. Now, what about tenants and landlords who may own, even a duplex or 100 duplexes? Is this something that they use a lot successfully as well?
Sure, and a landlord or a small landlord or a medium-sized landlord, their objective is to rent to somebody that is not only going to pay their rent on time, but is also going to take care of their property. It's a landlord's responsibility to do a credible background check and to make sure the people that are renting in their apartments not only adhere to fair housing laws, but also is a tenant that they know will be a benefit to them and ultimately benefit them monetarily as they go forward. Because getting a bad tenant can mean thousands and thousands of dollars to a landlord if they made the incorrect choice. And we all know that people have problems in their past and maybe aren't paying bills on a consistent basis. And I think that landlords, again, best practices is to do a credible background check to kind of make sure that their investment is protected. How about that?
Oh, I understand that. Now, so if someone wants to check somebody out, whether it's a new tenant for their property or they're looking for to hire somebody either on a management level or otherwise, if they contact your company, tell me what happens on your side. How do you guys get this information, and then how is it sent to the customer?
Well, that's a really good question. And what we do, and every company is different, but we like to assess what a customer's needs are. We don't want them paying any more than they need to pay for a background check. And so we do what we call matrices or matrices based on what they need for various departments. It may be a company with just one department. It may be a company, we have them with 40 departments, and assess their needs on the background check that they're going to require for particular positions. Once we've established that, then we can kind of train the managers on how to read the reports once we give them the information. The question was how do we get that information? There's many data repositories out there of which we subscribe to. There are good ones, there are bad ones. We tend to subscribe to what we consider the best out there in providing us information. This is information that's audited on a monthly basis and given us the best information we can to provide to our customers that it's correct, credible, and verifiable, and again, protecting their investment.
What a great resource for everyone to have a company like you out there that does all that pre-screening and sorting out those companies so that they can get a reliable report and then base their decisions on the reporting that you're giving. Now, you mentioned one thing earlier, that the government takes a long time to do this sort of thing. What's a typical time frame for, let's just say, a corporation who wants to hire somebody on the corporate side and with Western Reporting?
Well, Murray, I'd like to say that we can give it to you instantly, and there are some things that are instant. Credit reports are instant. There are some other Social Security verifications are very, very quick because we subscribe to repositories that provide that information quickly. When we start getting into drug screening and criminal activity, particularly on an international basis, sometimes international can take up to 5 days, depending on the country we're requesting. But typically, we never spend more than maybe 2, possibly 3 days on what we call county searches, where we actually have to have a person walk into a specific county courthouse, grab the information. It's all placed on the internet, and then we supply that on a report that's online to our customers. By the way, these reports are sensitive, and we always tell our customers to make sure you have your IDs and passwords protected at all times, because this is sensitive information that we're supplying to them. We also want to keep our customers from receiving false positives. So if I would tell your listeners to say, there's possibilities you can get a false positive. So don't think you can just run a Google search or some search on the internet and get information that's credible. Use a company such as ours that is we're federally protected. We adhere to all fair housing and federal laws required by our kind of company that provides that information to consumers in a credible and safe way.
Well, that's certainly reassuring to know that you guys do your homework, and that even the individual tenant or landlord, all the way up to Fortune 500 companies, can trust you in your reporting practices. It's been great to have you on our program, Bryan, this morning. Do you have any closing comments regarding what our listeners might be sensitive to or need in the form of background checking prior to giving you a call?
Yeah, I think that your listeners need to look at their own businesses and see how they can maybe improve their own best practices as far as establishing maybe a process that they go by, and maybe look at matrices for their individual requirements as far as jobs are or applications go, and look at that and maybe assess it themselves. Use us as a tool. Even if we provide you information that you may not use, at least you have information that could benefit you, maybe not now, but in the future. So I think I'd probably leave it at that. Thanks so much for interviewing me. Appreciate it.
Well, that's a great tip, and it goes to show while you guys are the leading experts in background screening across the nation, we appreciate having you in our program this morning. For those of you who like more information, please contact Bryan and his team at the website you see there on the screen. It's westernreporting.com. You can call them at 855-910-8443. That's also on your screen there. We appreciate having you again, Bryan. Thanks for taking time out of your busy schedule this morning.
Thank you, Marty.
All right, have a good day, and we'll see you again soon.